Thank you very much, Marie-Alix, and welcome to everyone. I'm very happy to see that you are already 15 and people are still in the waiting room. So we are going to work on CFA Institute resources on their framework to make a good ethical decision. And the first thing I would like to do with you before we start, because we are going to run some case studies, is to listen to someone who is really inspiring to me, who is Michael Macmillan. And I'm going to share with you what he says and that I share completely.
I have had the opportunity to travel all over the world with CFA Institute talking about ethics, and it's been quite a joy. And I find an important responsibility. But what's interesting is sometimes I'll be in a hotel or an airport or something, and someone will ask me what I do. And I say, oh, I teach investment professionals ethics. And I am amazed at how many times people start laughing and go, no, seriously, what do you do? And I go, that's what I do. And they say, well, can you teach people to be ethical? And I actually say, absolutely not. What I can do is encourage people to think about the decisions they're about to make or the situations that they're in. So hopefully by thinking about these things, that will lead them not to make the wrong decision.
Yeah, well, I wanted to share with you this first thought from Michael Macmillan, because I have had so many times these questions, why you're teaching ethics in finance? I mean, I don't get it. How can you do that? And this is very, I think this is quite clever to say, well, nobody can teach anyone to be ethical, but at least teach some tools or share some tools or ideas on how to make a better decision. So let's start. We've seen Michael, and this is the framework we are going to work on. This framework is made of 4 big blocks: identify, consider, act, and reflect. And I like myself to call it I care, I-C-A-R, with the E of reflect. So I care, which I think is very much linked to ethics. So we are going first to look at how do we identify, how do we consider, what is it, what does that mean to act, and what is the list of things you need to do to reflect. Because, you know, well, here it's not gray, it's really brown gray, but ethics is really from super white to super black, and in the middle you try to be as light as possible, and your goal is to become white. But at the end we are very often in a situation where it's well, the lightest gray as possible, and we do want to know, and when we make a decision we want to know where we stand in the from black to white scope. So it's turning, as we are doing we are going to have to go around those 4 blocks. Let's look at the first one. So the first one is to identify. So the identify is, well, to make a list, to make a short summary of a situation you're facing that is like awkward, and you're going to list the important facts. And when I put something in bold like that, is always think about connecting to someone outside, to source some external elements. And so listing the important fact, what's going on, finding additional information, because maybe the situation is you don't understand this and you need to know, so how much was the present, or find all the additional information you need to make the decision. Then you're going to list again the ethical principles at issue. You see that it's not written ethical standard, it's more ethical principle. You are in the code, but you are not only in the code. Sometimes it's more a group of standards. And so what are the ethical principles at issue? You're going to list another list, which is the duties. Who do you owe a duty to in this specific context of that situation? And once you have listed them, you're going to sort them from the most important here to the least important. Then you're going to list again the conflicts of interest, and it comes, of course, from some relationship you have, clients, employers, employees, clients between clients, it depends. And all these conflicts of interest tend to have an impact because you hesitate between one and the others. And usually you are going to have to list the incentives influencing action. Do you get money? Do you get paid for that? And again, elevate the issue to a higher authority if you are just stuck there. Okay, I identified and I don't know what to do. So maybe there is an external person to help you on that matter. So the second block is called consider, because I care, the verb begins with a C, like care and consider. So on top of the conflicts of interest, a good idea is to go through also something that is thinking in myself, well, is there any situational influence? Am I biased? Am I conforming to this group of people who are doing this and I'm doing the same thing just because I'm new to the group? I daren't, well, behave differently. I want to be part of the group. Very often I ask the students to remember their first day at HEC or in SEAD. Well, in the very morning, they dress, and usually you think for 10 minutes, or well, you use more time to think how to dress in order to, well, be part of the group. How should I? And this is very much a bias of conformity. This is not a big deal for clothes, by the way. Then another bias that is very often seen is obedience to authority. And this is a very dangerous one. You know, at a point, you know, your boss would like you to act in a specific way. And at a point, it needs not tell you to do something. You are going yourself to find the answer that will be acceptable to your boss, that he will prefer. And then you're going to act according to what you've just decided without asking. So at the end, you're going to be the only responsible for the result of that act. Your boss, he never was consulted, and he's going to leave you there. Overconfidence. And overconfidence, I just put 3, but there are many more. A lot of you went through the 3 levels of the CFA, and in behavioral finance, you have like 15 biases. But the overconfidence one is really a strong one. And very often also in the groups of students I'm teaching, I ask them, well, it would be too straightforward to ask them, do you think your ethical average, well, the level of ethics, your ethical, you represent the average of the population, you're better than the average or less than the average? So I'm going to ask people, who is less than the average? You have nobody who will going to raise his hand. I'm less ethical than the average. So you tend to be overconfident in topics where you think you have skills. So that's why I don't ask them this question. I ask them, who has a driving license? And then I'm surprised all the time because 80% of the students have a driving license. And I think, well, we're in Paris very often. And well, do you really need to have a driving license? But anyway, they do have for the vast majority of students. And I ask them, who thinks he or she drives worse than the average? Well, I do have 2 people who think or consider they drive worse than the average. So I always think, well, it's just you have a driving license, so you think, you consider, you drive, you know how to drive, and you have a skill, and you tend to be overconfident in this skill. For example, myself in biology, I have no skills. So if someone asks me if I'm above the average, or less than the average. When I remember the marks I had at school, I would say less than average. I'm okay with saying this for biology. But if someone asks me in finance, it's going to be very difficult for me to say I'm below the average. So you tend to have a gap that is larger between what you think you know and what you actually know for the fields where you are the guy, you are the competent guy. So, well, pay attention to that. You should definitely be humble and, well, maybe not. Situational influences, this one are your own way of behaving, but considering the boss and the group. But you could have also some other negative situational influences that drive your analysis, and this is what you need to look at. I don't want to say more because we are going to solve some case studies afterwards. So this was C. With C is also to consider the different alternative actions that you could consider, and CFA Institute in this framework suggests that you use brainstorm. It's a very good tool to avoid any preconceived path. Then, of course, and as always, if you don't know, if you don't have an idea on the next step, well, what about asking some guidance from an independent party? Again, it's a good idea to ask him, do you think we have biases? How would you see the outside pressure? Can you help in looking at the alternative actions? That could be a very good resource. Then you have the act. So, well, you're ready to act. It could be multiple actions done by multiple people. It could be, well, do nothing, or it could be, well, I don't know. So let's, I'm not going to act because I don't know. We need to act, but I have no idea. So elevate the issue to a higher authority again. And of course, you're not going to stop there. After you've acted, you need to review the path taken and identify and understand your strengths, your weaknesses. You reflect on what you've learned, and you're going to use this history of decisions to make even better and quicker decisions in the future. So maybe at that point, if you have any comment to make, I'm happy to listen to you. Maybe you have more, and for sure some of you, I saw that there are at least 2 people here who have participated in writing the Code of Ethics of the CFA Institute. So I'm very happy that they attend, and I'm humbly presenting this framework to all the others. So any comments? I'm happy to.
So yes, Nathalie, we actually have a question in the chat. Let me just read it out. So if a supervisor says explicitly or tacitly that he doesn't want to know how we achieve our assigned objectives, should we dissociate ourselves before we find ourselves in a difficult ethical situation?
So that he doesn't want to know how we achieve your, oh, my God, should we dissociate ourselves because we find out, yeah. He doesn't want to know how, he needs to know how. Should we dissociate? We should definitely, well, he shouldn't be dissociated from it. He's our boss, to me, and I'm open to any, and thank you, Mark, for the question. This is a very good one, it's a very, very interesting one. You say, okay, do that. I don't want you to know the how, and the how, to me, the how belongs to the what. Well, I mean, it belongs to the full way, the full decision is not only what we want to do, but how we are going to do it. And well, it's definitely in ESG, it's definitely the how we are dealing with, and especially with governance. You know, you have the S, you have the E, you have the E, which is let's protect the planet, in super simple. The S, let's protect people, and the governance will tell you how. And I don't think the how could be well, no, the how, la fin ne justifie pas les moyens, si c'est la question. C'est the way and the how and the means are as important as the what, which is the goal, to me. Let's practice.
Puisque j'ai posé la question, non, le problème se pose concrètement.
In English, Marc.
Okay, the problem is very straightforward. I mean, if you have a budget and you're the head of sales, very often, unfortunately, this is what is being expressed to the salespeople: is you need to sell, wine your clients, dine your clients, do whatever you need. I don't want to know. Yeah. And clearly, the supervisor, if he's not a CFA charter holder, will say, "Don't ask me, just do it."
Yeah.
And I don't want to know. Obviously, and in this scandal, it's also the same thing. I mean, the supervisor said, "I didn't know."
Yeah, I have an idea.
That's the reality in Wall Street.
If anyone wants to participate, please do it too. But in my mind, if the CFA, if the supervisor is not a CFA charter holder, then the responsibility of the how resides on you. And definitely, it tells you what to do. I need to sell that. So, well, you are going to use the framework in order to sell it in an ethical way. So don't dissociate until you realize that, well, you can't, you can't perform this activity in an ethical way. Then you will say, no, sorry, I'm not going to do that because it's going to be unethical and I don't want to be unethical myself. So if the supervisor is a CFA, he cannot give up his responsibility anyway. Well, thank you. Yeah. That's a nice, very good question to begin with. So now, your turn. You know, we are going to begin with a very short case, 3 lines. I'm reading it once if you want, and I'm going to give you some time to read it for yourself. We are going to do the I, C. We are not going to do the AR, but we are going to identify and consider. And so it's Janet Jones, CFA, just signed for a new position as an analyst at World Brokers, a brokerage firm competing with her current employer, International Brokers. Just after resigning, she runs into an International Brokers major client at the local theater, so her current employer. So this is the situation. Okay, I'm leaving, bye, go to the theater. Oh my God, a client, my current client. So, well, so your duty is going to identify the main facts and maybe the ethical principle at issue. Well, let's begin with I'm doing this, you're doing that, and that. And then we are going together to consider the situational influences. So the case is repeated here. I'm giving you like 30 seconds to read it for yourself without me speaking. So this is it. So I suggest I'm doing the important fact. I'm summarizing the situation, you know. I'm doing just this bit of step and you're going to do the technical thing, what standards are violated, something like that. So I would say that she's leaving for a competitor. The client doesn't know she leaves, and the client could speak about professional matters and So now you are going to have to answer to a poll and click on all the ethical standards that the ethical principles that are at issue here. Sorry for my English. I have many votes. And you tend to agree with what I found myself. So, well, we have 10% that have voted out of 16. Maybe people who haven't voted can try or just wait if you want. Well, so we have the votes. So the first one is loyalty duty to the employer, and which one? Maybe the current employer. Of course, the resignation is not effective. Maybe loyalty to the client too, duty to the client. Well, you are speaking to the client and he's going to, oh, I have 50 million to invest. I'm calling you tomorrow, and you feel, oh my God, I'm not going to be the one to get the 50 millions. I'm just starting next Monday in the other firm, and I won't tell the client to wait, but I should not. Well, so you spoke about loyalty, duty to the client, and that's very true. Misrepresentation and confidentiality. Yes. It's like even conflicts of interest is here, and you have a conflict of interest. Yes, definitely between the keeping the client for the new employer and respecting the fact that you can't harm your employer right now. And confidentiality, I don't know. Can I tell him? Did I ask? I remember when I resigned, I remember the HR told me, we are going to deal with the communication. Okay, so I knew how to do things, and I knew that for 2 days, they would deal with the communication, and they told me, well, you just tell this, this, and this, and we are dealing with the rest. Yeah, good. It's good to know what you should do, and that's definitely in confidentiality. It's both. Here, while confidentiality, in the code, it refers to the clients, but in the duty to the employer, you need this standard is full of many things, including you need to keep things confidential. And you got that misrepresentation, and I think that's clever, and that's definitely something that is here present too as a principle that is at issue, because he speaks to you as a former employee of World Brokers, and you are a former employee of International Brokers, and you are moving, and he doesn't know. So if you speak as an employee of your current company, your former company, then they are not going to first, it's not true. So you misrepresent your own job. You're not anymore part of this company, right? Reasonable care, yes, of course, reasonable care. Why not? I'm going to ask you why. And fair dealing and independence and objectivity, I'm not sure, but I would like to, if you have an explanation to that, I can definitely accept that too. For reasonable care, because two of you said, well, you need to act with reasonable care, and reasonable. It's not reasonable to lie. Maybe, I don't know. If you want to tell why you say that, please go ahead. Okay, let's stop. So then we are going to I had listed myself the same as you, actually. Of course, duty to the different employers, and especially the former one, duty to the client, loyalty more than duty. It's more like I'm sincere, and misrepresenting that I left, and I can't tell. Can I tell? I need to know how to communicate. So conflict of interest, influencing action. So if you want to raise your hand to explain, describe what is the conflict here.
So please feel free to raise your hand. You can click on the participant tab to raise your hand, or just unmute yourself and take the floor.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, then I'm going to explain. So it's well, we nearly covered it. So it's really not harming the current employer. You can't harm your current employer, and you still want to try to capture the client for the new employer. And this is something that is really difficult to handle when you face the client. Well, you pray that he's going to speak to you about Shakespeare or whatever, because you are at the local theater, but you're just like, oh my God, I'm going to run away and come back home. And this could be a decision, by the way. Okay, I saw him. Okay, I can't, I'm going home. He hasn't seen me. If he has seen you, you could say, oh, I'm just here, but I have to go and have fun, take care of yourself. And, you know, it's kind of difficult to manage if you begin speaking to the client at that point. So what are the situational influences that might be at work here? So I listed how much you're familiar with the client. Imagine it's a client you've had for 15 years. And as Alejandro and Maria-Luc say, when you're familiar, you know how many pieces of sugar you put in your coffee. And if you imagine you know the client very well, and even your kids are doing things together, and you want to share the good news, and he wouldn't understand if afterwards he learns that you change company without having told him, even if you can't. You know, how much you're familiar. Then you don't want to disappoint him. Maybe also the client really appreciates the company in which you're working at the moment, and you would like to keep that client trust for the future. So that would be things that would, in your mind, be difficult to handle, right? So, are you ready for case 2? So I'm going to leave you to read this text, which is a little longer, and then we are going to do the same. So I put the case is here if you haven't finished reading it. Okay, so you visit in another country, you visit a company that could be an investment opportunities for your client. And well, upon your arrival, you get very expensive welcome gifts, and well, it would be an insult to say no. And so important facts. What is exactly the value of the gift? Well, not exactly a range. Maybe you can have some tools. What's the gift policy? And also imagine you arrived late. What do my colleagues do? What have they done? Did they take the box, open it? Oh my God, an iPhone! Oh, thank you so much. And you're just offered that gift, and you say, oh my God, they all accepted the gift, and myself, I'm just, what do I do? You know, this is something that could have an impact depending on how the other colleagues react. Maybe you haven't decided before what to do, and well, I can guess everybody knows the gift policies. They have to do that. Evaluating the present might be a topic here. So I'm going to ask you, what are the ethical principles at issue with a poll? I have already 8 people who voted. 11. Yeah, so exactly where you should be. I'm going to finish the vote now. And let's share the results. So, independence and objectivity. I 100% agree with you. Independence and objectivity, you're an analyst. You're going to get a present from the company you're researching. It's something like that. Well, number two is conflict of interest. Yeah, definitely you have a conflict of interest here. Well, getting the present and making an objective report. Can you do that? Duty to the client, clever. And to the employer, of course, loyalty to the employer. Well, we need to keep, well, it could be in the conflict of interest, but you have a duty to the clients to write an objective report to recommend something that is really to be recommended. Well, it's not objective, it's just your opinion, but you're going to make a thorough analysis. And definitely there is a duty to the investors. And duty to employer, why not? I can't tell how really to the employer would be what? What did you mean when you voted for duty to the employer? I'm happy to accept it. You can just put your microphone on if you want to share the why, and otherwise I'm going to skip it because I don't know myself.
Okay, so duty to employer means that if it's a sizable gift, you need to explain to your employer any additional compensation, and it would be considered as an additional compensation if it was really something which was of a sort of material value.
Thank you so much.
So it will come into as a conflict in the way that you have a duty to your employer. It will twist to the way that you will work for him and the rational behavior that you're supposed to be giving him. So for all these reasons, I think that, yes.
Definitely. Well, I don't know if it's additional compensation because it has to be linked to a contract. I can imagine you agree with me, but definitely there is a limit.
I mean, once again, any material compensation.
Yeah, exactly. It's not linked to a work, but you're given a gift and it's for future something. So it could be definitely something that is linked to the duty to the employer. Okay, so well,
we had another question, Nathalie.
Yeah.
So Gabriel also raised his hand.
Yeah, Gabriel, go for it.
Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry, it's not easy for me. Yes, I agree with what Mark said previously, and maybe as well there is the duty of disclosure of anything we receive, and the disclosure has to be made immediately, according to me, and there is a relationship between the employer and the employee, and at some point the gift of the clients could bring them, could jeopardize a bit the link between the employer and the employee, and could be in competition.
Definitely.
That's what Mark said previously, but my approach is more like a competition and a distortion or twisting of the link between employer and employee, which is a link with a material link. You have to you provide the work, you get a reward. As soon as the employee get a reward from somewhere else, what is relationship? What is the state of the relationship between the employer and the employee? And that's why at some point we need some transparency from employee to employer in order to preserve, to make this relationship safe.
Yes, thank you so much. So I would add disclosure of conflicts, because if at the end you accept, you have to disclose it. And of course, your employer will not be very happy to have in the disclosure page something that is not professional, like well, something like the bank. If it's a bank, it's not a bank, but the group is a major shareholder of that company that is the company, we don't know the name. So imagine KCM is a major shareholder. This is a good disclosure, but you don't want to read in the disclosure, well, the analyst has received an iPhone it's kind of looks not very professional. So it might be that you get some pressure not to disclose it, but you have to disclose if you receive a present such as something that wouldn't be of symbolic value. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. Nice.
Well,
so independence.
I mean, it really depends on what the type of disclosure it is. I mean, I've worked with companies where gifts would be pulled in the pool and given to all the employees. So you just disclose it to your employer. The problem is, do you disclose it to the person who has given you the gift? And you have to say to the person who gives you the gift, I'm going to accept this gift, but you're not buying me. I mean, I will do my work just the same.
Yeah,
in which you're accusing him of being a corrupter, which is impossible. So you cannot say that to the.
And what it's a very good way to deal with presents when you cannot refuse them. Imagine a situation where you couldn't refuse a present, to pull it and to distribute it to all the employees, so nobody knows where it comes from which client it comes from, and number two, to tell the client, we cannot accept, well, we are going to take it, that's very nice, and we are going to share it with people or give it to another association, a non-for-profit or whatever, and all the presents are going to be transferred to a non-for-profit we are not going to keep them. This is the policy in our company, and maybe it's going to be not an insult. Maybe it could be solving the problem, but here, we are never going to do the A and the R because we need more elements. We need to know the policy of the company. We need to know, what is the size of that present, etc. But definitely, it could be when you meet clients where you think these situations could happen, to have a policy in your company that prevents where you have solutions, and when the solutions are thought through upfront, usually it's more easy, it's easier to solve, it's easier to present. Well, in my company, this is how we deal with presents. They are pulled, offered to a non-for-profit, and well, thank you so much. It's going to be really a pleasure for Les Restos du Cœur or whoever needs the iPhone.
Yeah. I would go even further. That is, from the other person, I mean, the person who awards the gift, it's a good policy to ask what is the policy in their firm. I mean, it can come from a very good intention, but I was in situations where I would invite clients in fancy restaurants, and it was embarrassing because we needed to split the bill afterwards. I could not invite them. So I learned the hard way that you need to ask them, this will be approximately, this is where we're going to go. Is it okay with you?
Okay. Well, let's continue. Conflicts of interest influencing action. So what would you, I just answered, so just we can move and do a last one with you. So of course, it's obviously accepting the gift versus recommending the investment independently. When you clicked on conflicts of interest, it's definitely this one that you were expressing, I guess. Otherwise, please raise your hand and speak up. Okay, and situational influence that might be at work could be, what are my colleagues doing? The framing, well, I'm not in my country, I'm going to behave in a different way. Well, if you are changing your frame of reference, votre cadre de référence, and you are going to, well, here maybe I cannot say no, maybe yes, but you just, you don't know. And incrementalism, maybe, you accepted this, so next time you are going to accept the double, but because it's not that much more. And then at a point, you're going to accept a super duper big present. And maybe overconfidence. Well, okay, I'm going to receive this iPhone, but I could buy it myself. Okay, it's a new iPhone. I'm going to give it to my daughter, so I'm not going to use it, and I'm going to write an independent report. Of course, it's something that should be ignored. And of course, situational influence that doesn't come from you. You feel embarrassed to refuse a present by someone who is so happy to give it to you. Okay, what about last one? And then, well, I have prepared 4, but either yeah, it's here. Let's go. So it's here. So you see, the full team, you're in an asset management company, the full team is going. The full team before resigning tell you, well, go with us, there is a job for you. You're going to have a super job in our new company. And well, no, I prefer to stay. And I know that, for example, Watson, he has decided to go on holidays for 3 weeks, beginning in 15 days. Oh my God, I need to cancel my holidays. They are going. And if I'm going on holidays, well, nobody will be here. And anyway, the full team leaving, I'm the only one. It's going to damage our ability to work effectively for our clients. So I'm going to do the important facts and you are going to answer to the poll. So, well, they told him in confidence, like, you know, don't tell anyone, we are just, you are offered to join, but it's not finished yet. So, okay, you don't come. He declined and it will harm. These are the important facts. And you feel, oh my God, they are leaving and I cannot tell anyone because I love them. They are my best friends. It's been 10 years, such a team. Yeah, you got it. I have all the answers focusing on the standards I totally share with you. Another couple of answers. And then we have not 1, 2, 3 more answers. And you can scroll, by the way, you have 10 choices. Oh no, you can't scroll. There are all the 10 of them in front of me, so they are nice. Okay, let's stop. Let's stop and let's share the results. Well, I totally agree. You have a duty to your employer and yourself. I mean, they have, but well, they are leaving and you have a duty to your employer. You need to be trustful. You need to be faithful. You have a duty to the clients. It's going to harm the clients, and of confidentiality to what I don't really know, but they are my colleagues and they are nice guys. They asked me to come with us and I don't. So, oh my God, I'm in a bad situation. What am I going to do here? So, well, I totally agree with you. It's exactly what you answered is what I found myself. But it's confidentiality to colleagues. And well, what are the conflicts of interest? Anyone want to describe the conflict of interest? Well, it's kind of obvious. Kind of obvious. So shall I just describe it and we go further to consider? Okay, well, it's just the loyalty to my nice and lovely colleagues and my duties to my employer, and you have a duty to your client, which, and the employer and the client is on the same side. They are on the same side. Here you have the colleagues on one side, and they are nice and lovely, asking me to come with them, and the duty to the employer and to the clients on the other side, but they are aligned here. Okay, well, situational influences. Here it could be, well, team spirit. I'm part of a team. We've been a team for 10 years. And also, they didn't put me out of that. If they told me, well, we are going to resign and we are going to get rid of you. Okay, then, hey, employer, they are going. I mean, you were offered to join. Okay, so, well, you know what? We are going to skip this case and I'm going to share it with you. I wanted to tell you about what's happening at CFA Institute because they are creating an ethics learning lab. And I'm going to share with you with my own login and password. They have built and rebuilt the website, and it is in beta test at the moment. It's going to be shortly, maybe it's this week or next week. It's going to be open to you. It means that you can rehearse and train yourself on ethics. And I'm going to share with you, stop sharing, and to share with you the escape. Yeah, this, that, yeah, I am, okay, I'm still logged on. So I'm going to share with you my screen where it's the brand new website, so you can see it and you can give voice to your values. There is a program, ethical decision making, which I've done in order to make sure, well, I'm a good one there. We are a team. The people who can log in, and well, at the moment I rank on 140, but it's just because it's a beta test, and I can imagine a lot of people tested it in a random way. So since I did it in a very focused way, maybe I'm ranking one of the first ones, but it's not going to be the case for 1 year. If you log in and you participate, and you can choose to go to learn about professionalism, you can, oh, they asked me to sign in back. Yeah, I can sign in, this screen, and you can choose to go into professionalism, into transparency and disclosure, trading and analysis, interaction with clients, and giving a voice to values. I think the one I'm going to do, and there are sessions that you can enroll in, and this is brand new e-learning workshops organized by the CFA Institute. So, well, this is going to be it for tonight. I'm really happy if you have any more comments to make. There were short, case studies, but to help you, well, just apply this framework, and you will have the reflex about I care. Whenever you are in a situation, just think about all these lists, identify, think about consider the biases, the situational influences, and then, of course, we couldn't do the A and the R because we need more information, maybe ask for independent parties and reflect. Well, we need time for that. So I hope you enjoyed, and I'm happy to pick one or two questions if you